So we're in the middle of the summer, the temperatures are high, and you still want to fertilize your lawn, but you're worried about burning it out. Today I'm going to talk about my favorite fertilizer to put down for all green and no burn. So let's get out of the weeds. When it comes to needing to fertilize it in the summer, you're going to have a wide variety of options, but one of the common concerns is that people are worried about burning out their lawn. Yes, it is very possible to do, especially in the summer heat, as proof from my old lawn when I burn it out by putting down fertilizer. The one thing you got to watch out for typically when you're putting down a normal fertilizer that you're just buying from the store is that you want to make sure you get it watered in. You don't really want to do it in the heat of the day and just let it all sit on there, because that can just really fry out your lawn. So if you're kind of newer into lawn care or just somebody that doesn't want to worry about potentially burning their lawn, today I'm going to be talking about the type of fertilizer that you can put down and not have to really worry about that. And that's going to be when you start to get in kind of your more natural fertilizers. Now, when you're at the store looking at all the different bags of fertilizer to choose from, what you're going to see and notice is that most of the fertilizers there are synthetic. And with the synthetic fertilizers, that's where you're going to have a potential for burning more than what you're going to have with natural fertilizers. And the reason that is because of the salt content with the fertilizers. When you're throwing those down in there and they just sit on your lawn, they help to suck up any moisture in the grass, therefore causing the sun to bake down on your grass and just start frying everything out. And so it'll just dry it out really quickly and suck it up. So that's why whenever you fertilize in the summer, you really want to make sure you water it in, dilute it, and that therefore it'll help your grass to take in that nutrients and not just burn from putting it down. Now, what you will see in stores, but just not as often, is going to be more of your natural fertilizer products. Now, these products are going to be way different than putting down your typical just like Scott's 4-step product. Now, with these natural fertilizers, you are going to get a lot different of an experience, and one that I think has a lot of positives for people, especially if you're newer to lawn care. If you're still, when you're thinking about putting down fertilizers, still a little bit like, I'm not really sure what I'm doing here, then natural fertilizers are the way to go until you get comfortable. They're by far my favorite thing to recommend to people that are just kind of dipping their toes in the water of lawn care. The reason that is because you don't really have to worry about burning out your lawn when it comes to natural fertilizers. If you have a spill or anything like that, like, you're not going to have to worry about your lawn just suffering the consequences of you just kind of learning something new. And so I really like the barrier to entry is really low when it comes to those type of fertilizers. So now when it comes to the differences between putting down a synthetic fertilizer versus a natural fertilizer, let's use a practical example. So let's take Scott's step 3 in their 4-step program, which is going to be a 3204, which is 32% nitrogen in the bag. That bag is going to go down at an application rate of 2.5 pounds for every 1,000 square foot of your lawn. And so what it's going to have is 2.5 pounds of product is just going to go on each 1,000 square foot section of your lawn. As opposed to this natural fertilizer I'm going to be putting down today, it's going to have like little over 14 pounds of product for every 1,000 square foot section of my lawn. So you look at how much more product just to cover the same area when you're putting down a natural fertilizer. So now this may sound like a bad thing, but I actually think it's one of the benefits of it, especially for people who are newer to putting down fertilizer. And that's because whenever you're putting down a fertilizer that's going down at like 2.5 pounds or 3 pounds per 1,000 square foot, you're going to push that spreader and you're going to feel like, am I really doing anything? You're not really going to be hearing that much product come out. It's kind of going out real slow and just kind of real controlled. And you're kind of like, I'm not really sure what I'm even doing. So it doesn't build a lot of confidence at first. Well, with the natural fertilizer, when you're putting down 14 pounds of this product for every 1,000 square foot, it's just going to feel like it's just dumping product all over your lawn. And so you really kind of gives you that feeling of, man, I'm doing something here. And so I think it helps kind of build confidence. And then as you kind of can get into lawn care a little bit more and get comfortable with that, then I think you can really kind of makes the bridge to going into synthetic fertilizers at lower rates much more kind of attainable and just really kind of going in there with a lot more confidence. So a lot of where this difference is going to come into is in the actual nitrogen percentages of the bag. Now take the natural fertilizer that I'm using today. It's a 430, so it's only 4% nitrogen in this 36-pound bag, as opposed to a 36 or 37-pound bag of the Scott's 3-step having 32% of nitrogen. And so it's just way more nitrogen in a synthetic fertilizer. Now also compare how much they cover. A 36-pound bag of the Scott's 3-step is going to cover 15,000 square feet, whereas a 36-pound bag of this natural fertilizer is only covering 2,500 square feet. So you're covering a way smaller area, but with a lot more product. So that's where you're starting to get the differences. Finally, what does this actually mean for your lawn? When you're putting down a synthetic fertilizer like the Scott's 3-step, you're going to be getting just under a pound of nitrogen in your lawn. It's going to be around 0.8 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square foot in your lawn. When you're putting down a natural fertilizer, you're typically going to be somewhere between a half a pound to like 0.6 pounds of nitrogen. So you're giving your lawn less overall total nitrogen, and the natural fertilizers are going to be all slow release. It's going to just slowly feed your lawn over time, whereas synthetic fertilizers, typically they'll have different controlled release. They'll have some that's going to be quick release and some that's going to be slower over time to just make it last a little bit longer. And so that's where you're getting into with the differences here. So now what you can expect to get with the natural fertilizer today is you put it down on your lawn. It's going to be safe for your pets. This is going to be a lot more environmental friendly option than synthetic fertilizers. So you can put it down and it's going to be safe for your pets and family just to walk out on it. You don't have to have any kind of concerns or worries when it comes to that. Now, the one thing you can note also is that when you put it down, when are you going to see the results? Typically, I always feel like when I put down natural fertilizers, I start to see peak results somewhere around that 7 to 10 day mark after I put it down, and then lasting for a few weeks until you can start to kind of see the lawn be not quite as green. And as you kind of get used to doing fertilizers, you're going to be able to just start looking at your lawn and be able to tell when you need a fertilizer application. It's really good to have a schedule starting out to just kind of remind yourself to do it. But as you get more and more into this, you're going to be able to just look out there and be like, man, my lawn's due for some fertilizer. Throw it down and it'll green right back up. So let's talk a little bit about what natural fertilizer is made out of. Now this fertilizer here is made from biosolids. So essentially what this is you're going to have the water treatment plants of certain cities that are making these fertilizers go and they treat all the sewage and everything. And so what they're doing is they're taking out all of the different bacteria and some of the harmful stuff from the sewage and then turning it eventually into a fertilizer to kind of be repurposed. So yes, if you want to simplify this, you are putting down a bag of people poop on your yard. So the smell isn't always the greatest, but the results are awesome. So let's go ahead and put this crappy fertilizer on my lawn. You can also tell a big difference in how it looks compared to synthetic fertilizers. These biosolid fertilizers are going to be just this essentially black color and all just kind of look like that for the most part. Now, one thing to pay attention to whenever you're putting down natural fertilizers is most of them have iron in the fertilizer. Now you can see here, I got some fertilizer on the sidewalk. If you do not clean up the fertilizer after you put it down with the natural fertilizers that have iron, or any fertilizer that has iron, you're going to get the orange spots and the orange stains on your sidewalk. So very important to take your blower afterwards or broom and sweep it up and make sure you're not leaving a bunch of the fertilizer on your sidewalks. So with that, that's really all there is to it with putting down a natural fertilizer. The one thing to keep in mind, if you're worried about burning out your lawn, or you're somebody new to this and you haven't really put down fertilizer before and you want to just kind of build confidence in what you're doing, this is a great way to get started. Or if you're like me, you just like to go to it every once in a while to kind of go back to that first love, the thing that made you fall in love with lawn care in the first place. And so with that, we'll see you guys next time when we get out of the weeds into a beautiful lawn.